it's Ginger. I am here with my monthly favorites. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you'll know that I don't just talk about makeup here. I talk about music and other things as well. So, in the spirit of that, or whatever, I didn't really have any makeup favorites this month. So, and this is January, by the way, duh. I have other types of favorites, and I have my little list right here. I have some podcast favorites, a food favorite, a movie favorite, and a non-favorite. A little venting session I'm going to do at the end. So let's get started. My first favorite is a podcast. I've been really into podcasts the last couple of months. It started last month when I started listening to the Serial podcast, and then I was like, well, you know, it's not that I didn't know about podcasts. I knew about podcasts, but I never really listened to them much. So it started with Serial, and now it's on hiatus till its next season, whenever that's supposed to be. So I was like, let me find some other ones. The first one that I found was Criminal, and I will put little pictures here, so it'll be like a picture of the Criminal title. And Criminal, basically, they do podcasts like once a month at this point. They talk about all kinds of different things. It'll be about either somebody who participated in a crime or somebody who is the victim of a crime or a particular type of crime. Like, there's one that's really, really good, and it's about the black market for it. There are some bizarre things that they talk about. It's there's a black market for Venus flytraps. Did anybody know that? Anybody? Am I the only one who didn't know anything about that? But then when they started talking about it, it started to make sense, because when I was a little kid, you used to go into, you know, your equivalent of Walmart back in the 70s and 80s, and you could go into their area where they have plants in the garden department, and you could find little Venus flytrap plants. Well, I haven't seen those in a garden center in years, but I never really thought about it. It's because there's a black market for them. They're not listed as endangered, but they're endangered. So it's that kind of stuff, and it was really interesting type of stuff. There was another one where they talked to a girl who was 20 years ago, when she was in college, was involved in counterfeiting money with her boyfriend back in New York in the 90s. That sort of thing. And then there was another one where they talked to, and they're not all kind of weird, some of them are serious, like they talked to the son and uncle, the son/uncle of the two people who were shot and killed a few years ago in front of the synagogue in Kansas City, I think it was, or somewhere in Kansas, that were murdered by a former Ku Klux Klan member. So that was kind of an interesting one. It's that sort of thing. It talks about different types of crimes. Like, and it's not always about a specific crime. One was about the kind of the psychology of lying, or the science of lying, and things like that. Like, can people really tell by your body language if you're lying or not, sort of thing. So it's really interesting. It's not the same thing as Serial, because Serial is just talking about one specific crime, but this is about sort of crimes in general. It's really, really interesting if you like a 2020 Dateline sort of thing. All right, my next one is a podcast that I just started listening to this month. I found it, I can't believe I didn't find it sooner, duh, but it's the Eddie Trunk podcast. And I'm a fan of Eddie Trunk. I watched that metal show. I've never listened to his radio show. He has a couple of radio shows up on the East Coast is where he's from. And he's been in radio for 30 years. More than 30 years, like 32 years, 35 years, something like that. And he flies the flag for hard rock and heavy metal. I've watched him on that metal show. That's where I discovered him on VH1 Classics. And I have both of his books. Which I haven't read the second one, but I have it. I haven't read it yet, but I have it. I read his first book. I really enjoyed his first book. He's a wealth of knowledge about music. He was, not only was he on the radio, he was also in A&R. He was in management. He even worked for a label. He worked for Megaforce Records when he was very, very young. He became an executive at Megaforce Records. So he's got a lot of relationships with a lot of people who are in hard rock and heavy metal. And he has these people come on his podcast. This podcast started airing back last July. So, I mean, he has some great interviews, and he says it on there, and it's true. Even if you're not a fan of some of the artists that he has on there for interviews, it doesn't matter because they're interesting interviews. So far, I'm up to September, and he posts one every week. It's a weekly podcast, so they load them on Thursday mornings, like Thursday at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So, but they've had Glenn Hughes, who was from Deep Purple. That was a really interesting one. They had Michael Anthony, who was who was with Van Halen and Chickenfoot and stuff like that. And he talks about kind of the demise of his participation in Van Halen, and they had the most recent one was Slash from Guns N' Roses, Velvet Revolver, and his own band Slash, and he talks about Miles Davis. He talks about Miles Kennedy. Hello, I'm mixing my music genres. He talks about Miles Kennedy, about Guns N' Roses, about his time when he was drinking and drugging and stuff like that. I even enjoyed the interview that Eddie Trunk did with King Diamond. And I'm not a fan of that particular type of metal because King Diamond is like black metal, like, you know, he's known for kind of satanic stuff. But it was a really interesting interview, nonetheless. You know, I'm not a fan of his music or that style of music. It's a little too heavy for me, a little too out there for me, but it was still a really great interview. And despite the fact that that Eddie Trunk has a lot of relationships with these people, I mean, he's friends with some of these people, he still doesn't mind asking hard questions. Because there's sometimes when he'll ask something and the person is like, geez, you know, don't sugarcoat it or anything like that. So I really enjoy that. If you enjoy music, and I'm somebody who likes to hear those type of stories. I like to hear stories about being on the road. I like hearing musicians talk about their records, you know, the experiences that they've had. It's like heaven to me. Anybody who knows me knows that, because when I was in art school, there were a couple of my teachers who were professional musicians, and they would talk about things from back in the 70s and musicians that they hung out with and different experiences that they had, and I'm just like, you know, that's how I am. I could just sit there and listen to a musician talk about all that kind of stuff for hours and hours and hours. And I have been, because I've been basically podcast binging. on the Eddie Trunk podcast. So I've really enjoyed it. You should check it out. You know, if you are a music lover, you know, because like I said, some of these people, I'm not huge fans of their music. It's not my cup of tea, but they're interesting interviews. So check that out. I'll link all that stuff down below and all that kind of fun stuff. All right, so my next item is, it's all rolled up because it's about to get thrown in the trash. It's the Sensible Portions apple straws, the cinnamon apple straws. This is my food favorite, not just for this month. I think I made mention of these a couple of months ago. I just made a mention of them a couple of months ago when I was talking about the veggie straws, which are made by Sensible Portions. These are the apple straws. Oh, they're so good. It's like an apple cinnamon type thing. I tried to buy some more yesterday when I was at a local grocery store, and they seem to always have them 2 for $6 because they ain't cheap. They're not cheap. But they always seem to have them on sale 2 for $6, and they're always gone. So I wasn't able to get any more. Oh, they're so good. I'll just sniff the bag. They're so good. If you can find these, pick them up. They're dangerous though. They are so good. All right, my next item that is my favorite for this month, and I'll put a little graphic up here. It's The Wizard of Oz. My mother and I, earlier in the month, I think it was the 11th, we went and saw The Wizard of Oz in the theater. It was the 75th anniversary special presentation that I think Turner Classic Movies did it. It was a two-day engagement that they showed them in theaters, limited theaters. But there happened to be a theater a couple of towns over that was playing it, and we went, and it was so much fun, you know, to see it on the big screen. I remember a long time ago they were showing, it was when I lived in Beaumont, I think, and they had just built the new big movie theater there. This is when I was in college, and they were going to show The Godfather. And actually, I've never seen The Godfather. I need to watch it. But I had wanted to go see it on the big screen, but they only showed it one time. Well, they didn't just show it one time. They showed it for 2 days, I think they showed it at like 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock on those 2 days, so they showed it 4 times. It was so much fun to see The Wizard of Oz. And it's not like I haven't seen that movie before. I've seen it probably a million times since I was a little kid, but it was a lot of fun to go see it on the big screen, all the music. It was a lot of fun. So if you got to see it, yay you, but if you didn't get to see it, I'm sorry, because it was a lot of fun. All right, my last item, we will call this an item, is an unfavorite. This happens a lot. This is going to be a little bit of a rant. In the society that we live in, technology has become ridiculous how we have to be on our phones all the time. And I'm guilty of it sometimes. Like, I'll be sitting there with, you know, a friend or my parents or something like that, and I'll check Facebook or something like that. But I'm not just sitting there the whole time doing that. But the problem that I have is that people don't have a sense of privacy anymore. Having to do with themselves. People don't seem to realize that I can hear their conversation. You know what I'm saying? I'll give you the example that really irritated me the other day. I was in Walmart, and Walmart is not my favorite place to be. because it's always crowded. It's always hot. I usually have a hard time finding the things that I need. I'm usually out of stuff. Yet there's always people working there who are in your way stocking stuff, but they never have the things that I need in stock. Anyway, I digress. I was down on the aisle where they have like the razors and stuff like that. So I wanted to pick out some razors, some ladies' razors. And there was a girl who was in front of me. Okay, she was a younger girl, younger than me. She may have been, I don't know. It's hard to tell sometimes because not everyone looks their age. Anyway, she might have been in her 20s. I wanted to say she was in her 30s, but how she looked, I don't know. But she was on the phone, and I'm like, you're not in a phone booth. People can hear what you're saying. She was talking on the phone, talking to somebody, complaining about how she and her boyfriend, I guess, or somebody got kicked out of a bar, I guess the night before or something like that. And you know what? I don't want to hear about that. I don't want to hear about how your tired ass was drunk and got kicked out of the bar. I don't have to hear your story because I've seen it happen before. I've been to a club where somebody, there's going to be a show and somebody is 3 sheets to the wind before the opening act and is acting rowdy and gets tossed. And I'm like, thank God. Because I don't want that drunk person bumping into me and getting all sweaty on me and breathing all their boozy breath on me and stuff like that. I'm there to see the show. Not the show of the tired drunk acting a fool. So I don't need to hear about your story, you talking on your cell phone in the middle of the Walmart, talking about we had already paid and everything like that, and then we got kicked out. I don't care. I don't care. Talk about that in your car where nobody else can hear about it. Then on top of that, there was an older lady behind me, probably in her 60s, maybe. I don't know. Like I said, it's hard to tell sometimes. She was gray-headed. Let's say that. Back there, talking to somebody else. I don't know if she's talking to her own daughter or talking to a friend or something like that. Telling her, you shouldn't have to worry about that because your kids are grown and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't want to hear about your crap. I don't want to hear about your crap. I'm there to buy razors to shave my pits and to shave my legs. Not to hear about you getting tossed out of the bar. Not hearing about how your trifling grandkids can't seem to get a job or whatever the problem is. Oh, it bugs me. People just, do you not realize that you're in public? You're in public. You're in public. People can hear you. You're not inside the cone of silence. People can hear what you're saying. And I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about it. You ain't going to hear about none of my stuff. Because I wait till I get in my car if I got to call somebody right now and tell them about it. Or if they call me and ask me about it while I'm in the middle of the Walmart, I will tell them I will call you back when I get in the car. Because nobody wants to hear my stories. Nobody wants to hear about my bad day or something like that. I don't want to hear about theirs. So, that's my non-favorite. Take your conversation to the car. Don't do it in public. It's irritating. It's rude. I don't understand why people got to talk on the phone the whole time they're in a store anyway. How do you, not that Walmart is an enjoyable place to go and spend any time, but how do you get anything done? You're like, blah, 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 blah. That's why people are always in your way and like bumping into you and not paying attention because they're yakking on their phone. I don't know why I'm surprised. People do it when they're driving down the road, and I don't know why people can't talk on the phone and drive down the road. Having a person in the car with you talking ain't nearly as distracting. Or that's more distracting, actually, than talking on the phone. I an easier time talking to people on the phone than I do having somebody in the car with me. I don't know. That's the end of my rant. Sorry. That just irritates me so bad. I cannot stand it. I can't stand it. It's stupid. It's stupid. Take it to the car. Or wait till you get home. You got their phone number. Wait till you get home. Alright. So that is everything in my January favorites, including one unfavorite. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up if you enjoy favorites videos. And if you have any favorites, let me know down in the comments. I'll be glad to hear what's been your favorites this month. And did I already say give it a thumbs up? Give it a thumbs up. Again, share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, because I'd love for you to come back and sit for a spell. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.